So today I'm going to talk about my passion. A lot of people, when they think about their passion, they talk about either a hobby they have, or an activity they like, or something to do with their family. But for me, my passion is an experience that I had that it touched me very deeply, and it became a passion of mine. So my passion is about service animals. I've always been an animal lover. I live in an area where there's a lot of farmland, there's a lot of woods. We always had dogs and cats, we trained horses, we had bunny rabbits, and anything you can imagine. So there was always a nice connection with animals. But I had a personal experience that really touched me and made this service animal and the work that service animals do become a passion of mine. So just to explain what service animals do, the publication Inside MS actually says that service animals are trained to respond to the physiological, mental, and emotional state of their human partners. So that would be the working definition of how a service animal interacts. So, what I'd like to share with you today is how service animals are beneficial to both their human partners in their times of need, how they can help those with silent illnesses, and how also their relationship benefits not only humans, but the animals themselves. When people think of working animals, there's generally three broad groups. There's the guide dogs that work with the visually impaired and the blind, there's hearing dogs that work with those who are deaf, and then now there's this new category of service animals. So people generally think of guide dogs, seeing eye dogs. And the article, The Economic Costs and Benefits of Guide Dogs for the Blind, states that the work that guide dogs do is they can potentially mitigate many of the social and economic costs for those who are in need, their blind partners. And this has been really helpful for those who are blind. As people know, it helps them be able to function in their daily lives, I guess not turn lights on and off, but help them open their refrigerator, come on, find things in need, help them manage daily life, and even go on and work and be a productive member of society. However, I'm going to focus today on actual service animals. So the definition we're going to use here is from Assistant Dogs International, who trains and helps create the guidelines and certifications for a service animal. So service animals are specifically for people with disabilities other than those related to vision or hearing. So, to give a little more background with this and how service animals are to help, I'm going to talk about Delta Society. Delta Society is an organization that trains specifically with service animals and doesn't generally focus on dogs for the hearing impaired or for the visually impaired. And the work that Delta Society does is, the purpose for the service animals is to empower the individuals with disabilities to maximize their quality of life and provide service by providing service animal-related information and resources. So what that may mean is pairing up specific humans with partners that have been with animals that have been trained. And so some examples of that would be, a popular one is seizure dogs. So for many people who have seizures, it can be very dangerous. They can fall, hit their head, it's very dangerous, and they don't necessarily know when these seizures are going to come on. And these animals are trained, specifically dogs, have been trained. They can smell the different changes that occur right before someone's going to have a seizure. They say there's a hormone that's released that the dogs can smell. And right before the seizure is going to come on, the dog actually can, whatever move they're trained to do, can have the person sit down in a safe place or lay down in a safe place where they won't hit their head, so they can, if they do have the seizure, it would be in a safe place. And they usually have packs with their medication on them also. So it provides these people with seizures the ability to have a functional life. So these are just some wonderful examples how these service animals help those who may need. So this is Missy. This is my dog. She is a pug. She is very affectionate and loving and a little bit rambunctious. And she has become an unofficial service animal. About 5 years ago, when she was a puppy, and even crazier than she is now, we had moved my grandmother into an assisted living facility, and we like to bring Missy to visit her and the other people who were there. And there was a man there, an elderly man, who had a severe form of autism. And he'd be very excited when Missy would come, but she would jump up so much and she would run and bark and give kisses, and he was terrified. And so he would stay away from Missy. But he always looked very excited. He was peering out. He wanted to play with her, but she made him too nervous. One day when we brought Missy over, he came over again. He would stay about 10 feet away and sit down and look. And Missy this time, instead of running over and jumping and giving kisses, walked very slowly over to him, and she sat right on his lap, calmly put her head down on him, and she just sat there and waited for him to pet her. And she instinctively knew that she needed to behave differently with this man. For some reason, she understood that this was a different need that he had. And then finally, when he pet her, she licked him very slowly and very calmly. And the smile on his face that he had experienced this love that the animal gave was so heartwarming that we actually now, about every 2 weeks, even though my grandmother has passed, we bring Missy to this home, and specifically to see this man. And she's really provided him with such great joy. So the next area I'd like to talk about is how service animals have been used to treat silent illness. I had interviewed Dr. Cindy V. Haynes. She's a psychologist and therapist through stress and anxiety services out in East Brunswick. And she had described silent illness as essentially those who cannot physically be seen as sick. So that would be either those with maybe psychiatric illnesses, sometimes combat-induced sufferers like soldiers coming home from war who have effects that can't be seen, or even those with medical disorders where you can't see the symptoms, such as maybe an autoimmune disorder or something that, from the outside world you can't tell that person is sick, but they're suffering inside anyway. So Cindy actually works with Clyde. Clyde is a golden retriever. He is a professional therapy dog, and he's been certified through Therapy Dogs International as well as the American Kennel Club. He focuses specifically on therapy work, those with what she deems as silent illnesses. And what Clyde's job is he's there to treat those in a way that if medication and traditional therapy aren't working, there's an additional way that they can help treat the patient. He can do anything such as just teaching the patient how to trust, just by sitting there and accepting their trust in a therapy situation. He's there just to calm the patients down. Sometimes the sight of an animal or the pet of the animal calms the patient to be able to engage in the therapy. Or he even does some of the heavier work, such as if the patient is really upset, he'll lay on top of them and try to calm them down they use their bodies as shields, essentially, to create a physical force. And she said that the work that Clyde has done with some of her patients has been phenomenal and has really helped them in a way, additionally, that some of the progress may not have been made had his help not been there. So you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with me? Why do I care so much about service animals? And the reason is because I myself have worked with a service animal, and it changed my life very dramatically. I used to suffer from very severe panic attacks. It's a condition called agoraphobia. Basically, you have these very violent panic attacks where you become afraid to go outside or to do social activities because you're afraid you may have a panic attack in public, and it's very embarrassing, and it can make social situations very stressful. So after many years of therapy and medication that just wasn't working enough, my doctor had recommended going to a treatment center and working specifically with a service animal that was trained to work with people who have panic disorder. So I worked with a German Shepherd, and he was a very, very large German Shepherd, and it was a little scary. I was wondering, why would he be so big? But I learned why after. They like to choose large animals on purpose. You don't often see for this type of work, a little Shih Tzu. So for a panic disorder, what happens when you have a panic attack, your body goes through a lot of physiological symptoms. Your breathing will increase, your heart rate goes faster, you secrete hormones, similar in the way how a dog can respond when they smell the hormones from a seizure. They can sense the physiological changes if we're having a panic attack. So the work that I did with this German Shepherd is when he could sense that my breathing was faster, he would come sit on my lap. If he could see that my heart rate was going faster and I was having trouble controlling it, and he could sense that it was getting worse, and this is why he was trained, he was so big, he actually was trained to sit on his back legs and have his front paws on top of your shoulder, almost like a hug, and he presses his chest directly against your heart. And what that does is it matches your heart rate to his heart rate. His is a slower controlled heart rate, and he's supposed to kind of make you feel safe and physically calm your heart rate down by matching it to a dog, almost like a mother does with their child, to try and calm them when they're sick. And the work that I did with this German Shepherd really helped me learn how to control when I felt these physiological changes happening, I could control, wait, I know it's going to happen, what would this German Shepherd do to help me? And it helped give me confidence and lessen my anxiety, and it was a positive benefit in my life, and I'm grateful that I had this situation. Oh, wrong button. So finally, I'd like to talk about how it helped how service animals not only benefit people, but they benefit the animals themselves. There is a Time article called Bringing Dogs to Heal, and it was specifically about using service animals for soldiers coming back from combat zones with post-traumatic stress disorder. And the article wasn't so much about the soldiers and how they helped, but how that it was so expensive to train some of these service animals, and the government, especially some of these VA assistance programs, didn't have the money to train them, that they were just using rescue animals from shelters. So what they would do is, they may not have been specially trained animals, but they were providing the same benefit nonetheless. And they found that it was really, these rescue animals were given a new purpose, and they helped the soldiers, and they helped the animals themselves. So the way I would one day like to combine my passion with my MBA is my $1 Million Idea program. As I said, it's very expensive to train these service animals. And especially to certify, to train them, you have to go through private organizations, and they match the animals one person at a time. It's a very long and tedious process, and even selecting the right animal, a lot of animals are not chosen because they may not have the right temperament. I would love to one day have a facility where we can take animals from shelters that have been rescued, generally larger dogs and a little bit older who have a calmer demeanor, which are a lot of the times those are the dogs that are not rescued right away, and have a large range facility where we can bring people in, train and certify multiple animals at once, and match them up with clients instead of the one at a time process, or even those that may not be deemed to be certified, we can still match them up with people who would find assistance from them. So that's what I would really like to do one day, combine my passion with my MBA. So in conclusion, I hope I've been able to show you the benefits of service animals, how they help the people in need, how they help the animals themselves, and how they help those with silent illnesses such as myself. And I hope I've been able to help shed some light on this topic, and I hope you enjoy the pictures along the way.